This podcast is produced by OnPod, a video content studio near you.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're here with Mike Kelly. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for the invite.
And we'll just get right into it. So in your TED Talk, you talk about credible context being necessary to change beliefs. What kind of context do you give those who are struggling to exercise consistently?
Wow, that's a loaded, big question. Lots of information. The challenge with beliefs is they typically take a long time to form in the brain. And once they do, they're hard to change. By definition, you don't really change them. You have different beliefs that are stronger and you end up using those. There's a lot of beliefs in the exercise fitness world that may not have the same credibility they should, but a couple of examples for the main audience would be, for example, take a look at the female population. There's this almost a myth out there that if they strength train, they're going to get very muscular, Mrs. Arnold Schwarzenegger or whatnot. Well, context would be to provide them, and by the way, there's two types of context. There's anecdotal. My late mom's hairdresser said, if you stand on your head, Mike, you'll promote hair growth. Doesn't really work. Then there's more empirical, science, peer-reviewed, and so on. I try to follow that kind of information. But if you take a look at what people are fearful of from that belief of building too much muscle if they're female, it's not really possible. Physically, it's not possible if they stay organic, if they stay away from anabolics and so on. But as a reference point of context, I would tell clients, don't worry about it. Number one, as a female, you have 10 to 20 times less testosterone, the main muscle building hormone in the body that males have. And two, you're going to have to work so hard at it that the end result is you'll be lucky to get 1 pound of lean muscle mass built on after a good long strength training program. That's not much.
No.
What you're going to end up with on the other side of that coin is strength. Mm-hmm. So strength is one of these things. You can look at someone with massive biceps, which I don't have, and you would think they must be so strong. No, a muscle is mostly water. Mm-hmm. A muscle is mostly water, appearance and so on wise. Strength comes from neuromuscular, a good neuromuscular connection going on. So I do a lot of silly things that people my age wouldn't typically do because I've trained that way over time. So what you want when you strength train is to be stronger from a top to bottom perspective, and also to have this ability to thwart off things like osteoporosis, which is very prone for females, which they'll especially get it when they hit menopause and so on and upwards. Strength training can help dial that back. Those are context items that will start to resonate in your head to make you think, oh, I didn't think about that. Maybe I should actually start strength training. I don't have to worry about building muscle mass. Listen, it's hard for a male to put on muscle. Okay, I said 10 to 20 times testosterone. It's not a linear progression though. Males, after a good strength training program, might be lucky to put on 2 pounds of lean muscle mass. So it's not a direct 10 to 20 times ratio. So it's doubly hard for females to do it. Did that answer the question somewhat?
Yeah, for sure. Like one, strength training will help your bone density, so it'll help you later in life. Mm-hmm. And also strength training is probably, it needs to be more active based, because if you do this 100 times and you get like a bicep, when you try to do something outside of that range of motion, there's probably other muscles that aren't strong enough.
There's over 600 muscles in the body.
Yeah, that's crazy.
A lot of them are working when we do the most basic things, although you may not think about it. We call them agonists, the main muscle moving, and the antagonists supporting the opposite side. Like my bicep is the agonist, this is the antagonist, the tricep. But there's a lot of supporting members helping out stabilize our muscles that are also important to activate. Right.
Okay. So now that, somebody has a little bit more context behind why they should be in the gym more often or strength training more often, can you talk a little bit about education and the best way for clients to get educated and why it can be a key to training consistently outside of the gym?
Yeah, it's a big rabbit hole because, frankly, there's a lot of information out there. It's called the internet. Sadly, and this is including AI. AI is not perfect. It gives you a lot of bad answers. You have to be good at being able to query it if you're going to do that kind of analysis with it. But that being said, there's a lot of information out there and everyone has an opinion. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, in my own opinion, you have to keep things really simple and you have to go at them progressively. Far too many people fall into the trap of what others are doing, like group activities where they're crossfitting. It's a good activity, but a lot of people in it are very experienced. So when you go into it new, you may feel peer pressure to push yourself. Then you get injured, then you fall off the wagon, then you stop completely. So instead, pick something that's going to be very benign to the brain, because that's what it all comes down to. It's how the brain interprets what you're doing to your body. And if it doesn't like what you're doing, it'll subtly kick back in subconscious ways that you'll have no idea what's going on, other than the fact the next morning when the exercise period comes up, I'll blow it off because I want to do something else.
Okay.
So again, that's where the context is. And coming back to that context question, the biggest thing that I can tell, Kristen, is that if you don't adopt a new mindset that's positive in your belief about exercise being important and consistent, you're going to fall into the ranks of most people these days. We're talking 60, 70% of people, certainly in Canada. It's even worse down in the US, that fall into disrepair. And it's sad, but our healthcare system is just being overwhelmed by people who don't know how to look after themselves. Mm-hmm. Not because they want to. No one wants to fall into disrepair, but it's out of ignorance, so they don't know what to do elsewhere. And once they fall into disrepair, it's even harder to see above the trap that you've fallen into.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not a motivation thing then. It's like a context and education.
Yeah, motivation from a psych perspective. So I've been in fitness for a long time, longer than I care to think about, decades. And I went back to school 8 or 9 years ago to get my psych degree, specifically with the focus of how can I apply this to exercise. I created an accredited course. It's a fitness psychology course that I run throughout the world, actually. And at the end of the day, it comes down to how you can deal with this consciously so that it doesn't come back and get you subconsciously to not do exercise. But far too many people don't do it consistently.
Right. And I guess it is habitual, like would you say?
Yeah, habits are an interesting topic. You've probably heard a reference out there that it takes 21 days to set a habit.
Yeah, sometimes I use that.
Yeah, it's a bit of, well, here's the deal. If what you're doing works, keep doing it. Mm. But far too many people, what they're doing, it's not working. It's just physically evident. You see it in the hospital emergency rooms every day kind of a thing. Or the doctors are overwhelmed by clients who don't know what to do. But ultimately, that 21-day reference apparently came from the cosmetology industry, where someone had some massive face work done and they reported back after about 21 days they felt comfortable in their new looks. But science has actually come back and said, sadly, it's actually more about 66 days. It's about 10 weeks to deal with a habit. Mm. But here's the thing. You can't change a habit. You can get a new habit, which will be strong enough, hopefully, to override the other one, because these are wirings. This is literally wired in our neural networks. That's what a habit is, about how we do things, how do we motivate ourselves, and so on. It's all wired, and it doesn't disappear. But you can create a new habit, which is more beneficial to you, and again, with context, trying to convince yourself that I have to do this method as opposed to doing this method.
That's wild, and I think it really goes to show how there's so much science out there and so much data, and not all of it is relevant. And sometimes we don't know how to read a study either, because a lot of times these things are taken out of context, and then
they're all money driven.
Effect. Okay.
All of these studies are money driven. Every university is seeking grants and so on. They're all money driven. So that's the sadness of it, but including the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if this is on target with what we're talking about, but if you take a look at pharmaceuticals, which is one of the biggest businesses in the world, at the heart of it, the scientists and so on have this, I want to solve something. I want to solve type 2 diabetes and deal with it. But then there's money involved, and the corporation takes over and the money gets involved. Mm-hmm. So if you look at GLP-1 type drugs, it started out with the right mindset, but now it's not just for those with type 2 diabetes, right? Yeah. But here's something people should consider. I'll come back to the context. If a person could go back in time, or let's just say they're 20 years of age right now, so the youthful body is really tolerant of poor behavior, the aging body not so much. But if you're talking to a 20-year-old and you say, listen, if I could guarantee you that in 20 years, 30 years time, you will likely be overweight and struggling and losing functionalities you used to have when you were 20, but have no fear, there will be a drug available for you. You'll have to take it for the rest of your life. It does have some side effects. It could even cause pancreatitis. Scary. Now, sadly, some people will have to take this drug because it's life-threatening if they don't, and I get that. But for those that are thinking, I'm 20 years of age, and my alternative, instead of doing that, is adopting a healthy lifestyle, which I need to learn about. I need to invest the time. Humans don't plan to fail. They fail to plan. Why? Because it takes brain energy. And that's the whole crux of the thing. Our brains do not want to give up calories. They don't want to give up energy. It's very, very prehistoric. It's for a salvation perspective, living. But that being said, if you invest the time knowing what might happen in the future, you might be changing your thought processes of what you might do now to make it easier. Mm-hmm. And those that actually do adopt a decent lifestyle in their 20s are likely not only going to live a better, healthier life, but a longer life and a better immune system and so on. Mm-hmm. But once you fall into the trap, it's a lot harder, and then they need new context and so on.
Mm-hmm. So basically start as soon as you can, because the information that you get, it's
exactly
change, it's trial and error.
Exactly. And that all threads to our educational system, our government support, our parental guides, our peers, and so on, et cetera. And unfortunately, being a healthy, fit adult is really, really hard. Really hard. It's easier for the younger person because the youthful body, as I say, is really tolerant of, dysfunction and so on. You take those same behaviors fast forward in life, and you're kind of stuck.
Yeah. I feel like you have more responsibility later on too, that it's hard.
Life gets in the way.
Yeah.
Life gets in the way. I never negatively critique anybody, of my clients especially, who say something got in the way of them doing something they thought they should do for their for their health. But because I'm a family man myself, and I run a business and so on, so life does get in the way. So I get that.
Yeah. Okay, we'll come back to you and your training methods. So balance and endurance, it's at the core of your coaching?
Mm-hmm, pretty much.
Okay. From your perspective, what are some overlooked ways that clients can train these qualities to see real improvements?
Okay. When you think of balance in life and so on, et cetera, when you think of physicalities, they're a little bit different. So if you go into any mall around Christmas time and you see the mall walkers, they're 60 years of age and up typically. A lot of them shuffle. It's called drop foot. They literally aren't able to lift their toes, which is called dorsiflexion upwards. Why? Because they forgot, this is my leg, they forgot to work this tibialis anterior muscle, which allows the foot to lift up. Okay. It's just a neglected point. What they do work sometimes, especially in the gym, is they work their calf muscle group. They do calf raises, which you're probably familiar with. Mm-hmm. I could stand up and demo, but I think you get the idea. They fail to work the front muscle. That's balance. Front, back, lateral, medial. Balance is body-wise balance. So you work, a lot of people are built on, for example, here's a good one. Guys love working their biceps. Why? Well, it's because guys don't walk down the beach like this. They walk down like this. So they focus on that. But the tricep is a bigger muscle, potentially. But we don't hang from trees, so we don't use them that much. Right. But if you actually want to get balance, make sure you work. You should theoretically be able to do the same work you do on the bicep as you do the tricep, weight-wise. Maybe even a little more if you put that focus on. Mm-hmm. That's what I mean by balance. So front and back. If you're big on having a six-pack or whatnot, and I could talk for hours on that topic, don't neglect your back. Mm-hmm. You have to work both. That's balance, physical balance. From a balance of life, we know exercise is important, but other things have priority and they take over that. But what you have to understand is if you don't do the exercise, you're not going to be able to do as much later on in the rest of life. Mm-hmm. And the one thing, I'll leave this with your viewers right now and listeners. If they have loved ones in their family, I never ask them specifically what name, but I will pin them on this. I'll say, who do you love the most? And they'll always say someone like, my wife, my daughter, my dog, my whatever the case may be. No, it should be you. And I don't mean that in a selfish way. And you don't stand in front of the mirror 6 days a week at the gym. That's overboard. But, love yourself to a point because you don't want to be a burden on your loved ones. So you have to look after yourself so that you can be there for them and work in conjunction with each other.
Yeah, for sure. Fill your own cup before you give someone else
yeah, exactly.
water.
Yeah.
Oxygen mask on you first.
Yeah. Now, my method of training, I'm a minimalist.
Okay.
I work out once a week, and I hate it. I hate exercising.
I'm shocked.
No, it's true. Okay. And it would take a long time to explain why, but if your listeners and viewers want to listen in on a TEDx talk, Just have them Google TEDx Mike Kelly, and they'll get a bit of a snapshot as to why I hate exercising and why they should too. Right?
I feel like that's negating our first point, but
well,
maybe that's why you have.
Again, it comes back to the context.
Yeah.
It comes back to the context. If you really understand, I mean, what is the problem at hand? The problem at hand for a lot of society is a lack of exercise. If you understand the problem better, you'll be able to deal with it better. Mm-hmm. If you don't understand it, you'll just continue off in a cloud trying to deal with it. Not very well for most people, as it seems.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. Okay. I'm a little bit excited to talk about your invention here. So you've just launched a product you've invented, of course. Okay. A bicycle safety accessory?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Can you tell us how it works and why you see it as potentially life-saving for cyclists?
Sure. So my main drive in life is I'm selfish. Every human on the planet is selfish. It's how we're wired for survival. But you can be altruistic. We do that, though, because it makes us feel good. In my case, I want to get the planet healthier. I do it in different ways. Train individuals. I train trainers who will train more individuals. I'll do TED Talks. I'll do these kinds of things and so on, etc. Sadly, there's still a lot of people that aren't moving around enough. One of the last bastions out there that is still relatively free and easy to do, not as negatively impactful as, say, running might be, is cycling. But a lot of cyclists are fearful. Like in one survey I did, 172 cyclists, 94% were afraid of being out amongst vehicles. Okay, it's scary out there, distracted drivers and so on. So when I was biking some time ago, over 4 years ago, I was brushed by a side mirror of an F-150 on an open road. That's when the lights came on. And I got brushed because I couldn't see behind me because I was down low to defeat the wind. So I came up with a product that basically allows you to see from any height position on the bike without having to readjust it. It's called the Mantis Mirror. And I brought it to market through Kickstarter, which just finished a little over a few weeks ago. And it's going to market in a few weeks, 4 to 5 weeks max. And the outlook is that if you feel more comfortable on your bike because you see more from behind you, you're more likely to want to get out on your bike more often. So it's all connected to helping to get people healthier.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I know whenever I'm biking, especially if you're going really fast, when you start to do anything, look behind you, you look where your eyes go, and then you get further out into the road. And,
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
With this, you keep your eyes ahead, keep your hands on the handlebar, and see behind you.
You got the 360 view almost.
Well, it's not quite 360. Hopefully, if you're looking ahead, you'll see your 180, including peripheral, but from behind, you'll be able to get a good view.
Good.
All the way to a kilometer back. So
nice. Okay, so for any other inventors or entrepreneurs listening, what's the most important thing you've learned about navigating the path from the idea to the prototype to the launch?
I do a lot of mentoring to inventors on different groups and so on. I'm into a lot of things, mostly fitness-based, but they all have connections and so on. But on the inventor side of things, I always tell an inventor, if you ever get an idea, take 5 minutes and hope it goes away. Because once you start it, it can take over your life. And not only from a time perspective, but from a money investment perspective. It's expensive to bring a product to market. A lot of things to do. But planning, and that covers the fitness side of things too. People don't plan to fail. They fail to plan. Why don't we plan in life? It takes time. It takes energy. The brain doesn't want to use energy. Again, you have to come back to the context. Why am I doing something? Why am I exercising? What's the purpose? What's the end goal? Et cetera, et cetera. Why would I want to invent something? What's the purpose? Is it just to get my patent on the glass frame and put it on the wall or make some money or to help people? That's what I feel good about doing. And once you've got those defined, start doing your homework. And the biggest thing that most inventors fail at doing is the research. Because most inventors have blinders on. It's great in their mind. Everyone must want this because I think it's great and I want it. I never go biking without a Mantis mirror. You won't catch me out on my bike without my Mantis mirror. Okay, but that being said, maybe people may not understand why I'm using it, so it lacks a context. So do your research as to whether or not others may actually want it. Does it solve a problem big enough that you want to invest the time and money in?
Yeah, that makes sense. Do the numbers research, I think.
And again, that takes time.
Yeah, for sure.
So people like to jump right into things.
Yeah.
So.
Could be a waste of money, but I'm sure,
Yeah, well, there's an adage out there. It's something like less than 1% of all. You've had ideas. Everyone on the planet that's cognitive, functioning has had an idea. But they say of all the ideas people have, 1% will actually venture out and try to get them patented. And then it's a fractional amount of the 1% that actually get issued. And then a smaller percent that actually go to market. Mm-hmm. It's hard. It's really hard to bring a product to market.
Yeah.
So
yeah, on one hand, it is, hard and it is expensive. But on the other hand, if you do the research, take it one step at a time and
trust me, it's empowering to actually bring a product to say, hey, I did that. I'm helping somebody. That's good. I saved a life.
Yeah.
And so on.
For sure. Get that why out there too, Okay, so we'll go back to your training concepts. So if someone listening wants to start improving their balance, endurance, and injury prevention today without fancy equipment, what's one simple exercise or habit they could implement?
Body weight.
Okay.
Yeah. Body weight is everything. It's the best gym in the world. It's free. Mm-hmm. You can take it anywhere you go. Gravity, in this case, is your friend. You're working against it. And it's a no excuse gym. How many times have people gone to a gym? Oh, I forgot my running shoes. I'm going to go home. I can't do my workout. Well, if you use body weight, you don't need your running shoes, right? It's minus 40 out. It's too cold to go to the gym. Well, stay in house. I have my body weight exercise to do. Now, the downside of doing body weight exercises is it can be boring, which is why there's so many different types of equipment at all gyms. The human mind gets bored very quickly. Want to give variety. They do very similar things at the end of the day. But with body weight, the more time you spend to learn about doing them, the better you'll get at doing them, and the more benefits you'll see out of it, and thus want to continue, again, building these beliefs. This is really the way to do it. So I said I'm a minimalist. I work out once a week. I work out once a week with actual weights. But I would do stuff every day on an ongoing basis based on body weight. It doesn't take long. For me to stand up right now and put out 25 prisoner squats will take me 30 seconds. 30 seconds gone, done for the day.
It's that easy, like 30 seconds?
That would be a fast squat down to the floor. But, the same with push-ups. I can do a lot more if I had to, but that's not the point. With body weight, you want to get to whatever level you want through progressive overload. So if you're not used to doing push-ups, stand against the wall about 2 feet out and push yourself out against the wall. Okay, build up to 25. You do not want to break a sweat doing this. If you do, you're going to subconsciously train yourself to not want to do it. It's no fun. So take it easy. And here's what kills people a lot when they hear me say this. I hate exercising. And number 2, dial back what you're currently doing. And they say, wait a second, you're in fitness. How can you hate exercising? It's because I understand it pretty well. If you understand a problem well, you'll deal with it better. As for dialing it back, if something is not working for you now in your exercise efforts, dial it back so you can get good at it from a consistency perspective. Once you do, which can take people typically about 2 weeks, I'll give you an example in a second, then you can move the ladder up the scale, so to speak. So here's a reference. If you're able to walk 1 block, which in the city is about 1 kilometer, if you walk that in 25 minutes, that's a very slow walk. But you don't do it consistently. But it doesn't really stress you out, but you don't get much from it. Plan for 2 weeks of walking that 1 block every night after dinner within, say, about an hour after you eat. Okay? It will not strain your brain because it's not that energetic, so to speak. It's not that rigorous. After the 2 weeks, you'll be used to it. Now, the 3rd week, take off 5 seconds. What? Only 5 seconds? Mike, off of 25 minutes? That's nothing. I could probably knock off a minute. No, don't do that. You want to keep it progressive so you're not actually putting this in a state of a stress mode or sympathetic mode where you're pushing your body too much. You want to progressively build up the resources that this will provide, along with good nutrition, sleep, hydration, all that stuff. But if you progressively move into something, you will be more consistent with it because it won't feel as harsh on you. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And this is just for the people that really don't want to exercise, right?
No, it's for everybody. It's
How
for
about the
everybody.
People that thrive off that though?
They thrive at different levels.
Okay.
Okay. What's an athlete want to do? An athlete wants to improve by 1%. Okay. Every hockey player in the NHL, in their domain, a center or a wingman or a defenseman, they're all at similar level skill-wise. Very similar. What's different? It's the strategy that they're able to implement during that and their energy systems that they're able to use and get that same skill set out there. So when they come to train with someone like me or other people, they're really looking to gain about 1% edge over the masses that are doing the same thing. So they can use the same concept, just at a different level. Now, for the masses, which is where most of our health issues are, they just need to get to a point where they gain back some functionality they might have lost. Something as simple as they can no longer squat all the way down to the floor, which is a birthright kind of a movement. We do it just before we stand up and start walking and say, Mama, Dada. We're frog walking. Huh? We're sumo walking. But ask most people in their 20s if they can squat all the way down to the floor with their heels flush on the floor. They can't do it anymore. Mm-hmm. Now, it's not a big issue that they can't do it, but it's a sign that they're starting that functional decline. And it gets rampant because the less you do, the less you'll be able to do.
Yeah.
So you need to get to some consistent level. I'm not talking about being athletic. I'm talking about being able to walk. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about being able to get out of a chair. Now, if you're dealing with handicaps or systemic issues like arthritis or whatnot or cancer, you have to plan around that because you still want movement in your life. You want to promote blood flow, which helps the brain and so on. But far too many people fall into the trap. It's easier not to do anything.
Right. Yeah. And I guess when you start to have that functional decline, it's easier to say like, oh, I'm getting too old for this. I can't do that anymore. So
yeah. I've lost count of how many people have said that. My average client age is around 50 years of age. Most of them are on 3 to 5 medications. After 6 months, most of them are off the medications unless they've got thyroid damage or through X-ray analysis or something. But most are just changing their lifestyle. And they're not going to become athletes. They don't want to become athletes. They want to be able to garden. They want to be able to walk. They want to be able to go with their grandkids. They want to go for a bike ride safely, et cetera, et cetera. But if they don't change what they're currently doing, their path won't take them to that, and they'll fall into the trap. I can throw a quick stat at you that non-exercisers statistically, by the time they reach 80, if they do, because very few do, they will have lost over 90% of their functionality. 90%, that's physical, mental.
Yikes.
So they don't deal with depression well. They're probably on heavy medications. They're in wheelchairs or walkers. They need assistance to live. Mm-hmm. I get it. Life's drive is really strong. We want to live, right? But the reality is if through ignorance we lose our functionality, what a shame.
Mm-hmm. It's a very hard and depressing place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. So
yeah.
I don't care if I live to be 200, but if I live to be 80, I want it to be a decent quality of life if some of it's in my control.
Yeah.
And by adopting different beliefs, different lifestyle movements and so on, and a little bit of planning with slow progression, then I'll have a better chance to statistically do it. Here's a positive that people should take home. If they're in their 50s right now, the likelihood of them living to their 70s is pretty good. It may not be a good quality of life for the 20 years because they haven't looked after themselves. But if they take a long-term approach, when you're saying 6 months to a year, of learning what to do differently to take a right turn for their lifestyle, yeah, it'll take 6 months, but they'll move on a different path that'll make it a better quality of life, not only in their 70s, but probably by their 80s because they made that path change.
Yeah, take that 6 months to make that 20
Exactly.
years
So
better.
it sounds like because the human brain is very impatient. It wants instant gratification. I could talk for hours on that. It's a very chemical thing. But that being said, your gratification comes later after exercise. It doesn't come in during exercise. That's why I hate exercising.
Fair enough. Okay, well, I've really appreciated all this information so far. I'm going to have to go back, take a look, and see this more in depth for sure, because there's a lot to cover. But one more question for the viewers and the podcast. Is there any one person that has given you a belief, idea, or support system that has completely changed your life trajectory?
Oh, my wife, hands down, yeah. 37 years of putting up with me. So, the reality is if you don't have a support system when you're taking on challenging things in life, it gets a lot harder. So she's my support system, my wall, and so on, et cetera. And I do exercise because I want to be there for her. She does too. One thing I've learned is never tell someone close to you to exercise or how to do it, because familiarity breeds contempt. It doesn't go over well. So I simply, if my wife is taking on her leg workout day, I just applaud her. Good on you. Well done. She ends up feeling the benefits from it, and life will be better. Quality of life will be better. And then there's been a lot of mentors along the way. And for that reason, I'm very much in a big pay it forward mode in life right now. I was just on the phone yesterday with someone out in Vancouver Island, coaching them on a new fitness product that they're bringing to market. The inventing side of things. It connects with the fitness side, which I'm big on passion-wise, but it also helped them actually, because it's a tough world to navigate, inventing something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Mike.
Oh, a pleasure. I hope people get something out of this and they can change their beliefs and lifestyle and be healthier.
Yeah, they absolutely will.